Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? Darren here with Small Town Preparedness. Today, um, I want to weigh in on my thoughts with September 11th, 2001. I'm sure, just like me, all of you guys know exactly where you were, exactly what you were doing. I remember I was actually at home that day. I had just gotten up, had a bowl of cereal, and I sat down on the couch and I started watching TV. And I was flipping through channels, and every single channel had the same thing. At this point, I didn't know what it was. So I stopped. I'm like, what's going on? And of course, it was the video feed on how the first plane had crashed into the first World Trade Center tower about 8:30 in the morning. Probably about 15 minutes after I had started watching, one of my buddies called me. His name's Joe. He was one of my best friends back in the day. And we were on the phone talking, and while we were on the phone, the second plane hit the second World Trade Center tower. And there were two things that we knew. We didn't know who did it. We didn't know why. We had no idea what was going on, other than, number one, it was done deliberately, and number two, we were going to war. We didn't know with who at that point, but we knew we were going to be going to war. That day really changed America. We are basically, technically, still involved in a war that isn't over. It's been a very, very long war. And a lot of people will be like, what? No, we're not in any war. Yes, we are. Technically speaking, we are. Just that day changed America. The one thing that I will never forget, though, is the undeniable unity that everyone had after that occurred. You might be a Democrat, you might be a Republican, you might be a liberal, you might be a socialist, you might be a hardcore right-wing conservative. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Everybody wanted to get shit done. And they did. Everybody band together and got shit done. Other than the attacks, of course, I wish that our politics had that approach now, where people would just band together and get things done, instead of arguing back and forth, and then you have other people arguing back and forth with each other, and, just turning into straight up hatred. you know. I guess that's the one thing I can say. We argue amongst ourselves, but if somebody comes after us as a whole, look out, because it's going to be game over, and we're going to make sure of it right quick. But that day, if I'm remembering correctly, it was 8 EMTs and paramedics, 60 police officers, 343 firefighters, and 2,997 civilians that had lost their lives. One of the most tragic incidents that ever occurred on our soil. I am a firefighter for a living. I wear my hats and my old shirts proudly. I don't wear my current firehouse, on here. Not that it would really matter anyway, to be honest, but I just don't. I don't know. I think that's one of the biggest things that made me want to be a fireman. Seeing that tragedy and seeing, the bravery and the courageousness that some people have that can just suck it up, and get things done, that can help other people. And I basically have been involved now in public service all of my adult life, pretty much. it's an honoring, very gratifying profession. It's not too bad. But after a while, though, I have to admit, it's like any other job. You go to work, you go home. But God bless everybody that day who had sacrificed their lives. And I think a lot of people forget the families of the people who had sacrificed their lives, because they have to endure this loss for the rest of their lives. Not having their mom there, or their dad, or their grandpa, or their uncle, or their brother, or their sister, whatever it may be. It's just, that is a day that had truly changed America. But one thing we can say, truly, without a shadow of a doubt, this is why we prep. It's not because you never know what's going to happen. A tornado could come barreling through your backyard, like it did with me when I was a kid. Or an incident, like 9/11 can happen, and that's why you need to be prepared. Have emergency kits, have things ready to go, because you never know what you're going to need and when you're going to need it. One thing that day, medical would have been the biggest prep you could have. Face masks, gas masks even. Look at all the firemen, not just the ones, they're still passing away. The people that went to ground zero and helped, they're getting sick with cancer, from the dust clouds out there, from the towers. They're getting sick and dying. I don't know if you'd seen an article. Well, it was a clipping with Jon Stewart, how he was talking in front of, I can't remember what committee it was, but he was over at Congress speaking in front of a committee, because they were trying to pull, or did pull, benefits, secured benefits that were for the, first, the 9/11 responders. He made an incredible, touching, gripping speech, which made a lot of sense. The official response time, I remember his speech, from FDNY was 5 seconds. And he was saying in his speech, it took FDNY 5 seconds to respond to trouble. And it's been 18 years for you guys. Which, that's powerful in itself. Think about that. Just the tenacity of some people, to try to pull funding away from that, saying it's a New York problem. But Jon Stewart said it best when he said, when bombs were exploding into our, and when airplanes were exploding into our buildings, they weren't screaming death to Tribeca, which is true. That was an attack on the United States. But again, guys, this is why we prep. Make sure you have stuff for power outages. Make sure you have stuff for, medical emergencies. What if something does get into the air? Something similar to 9/11. You don't know what it could be. It could be a factory near your home. These are things that you need to be prepared for, because you never know what's going to happen. It's about keeping you and your family safe. But I'm not really sure what else really I should say. But I do know one thing: the victims of 9/11, they wouldn't want people to be sad. I know that. I think they would want people to go on, have fun, enjoy the day. Life goes on. But never forget the sacrifice that those brave men and women made for all of us, for this country. That's the most important thing. Well, guys, it's Darren signing off. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and if you want to, leave a comment below. Tell me, what were you doing? What were you doing on September 11th, 2001? All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. You take care. Remember, events big and small, make sure you're prepared for them all.